Well, everyone, oh, wait a minute. Let's get my mic here. It's one of those days today. That's what happens when you're doing lives. Well, this one we didn't get scheduled, so we'll see how many people actually jump in with today's Canada Immigration live Q&A. So let's wait and see. Now we're back, everyone. Welcome to the Canadian Immigration Live Q&A. I'm your host, Mark Holthe, coming to you from the beautiful province of Alberta, Canada. In fact, I'm recording at my home office in Lethbridge, so it's great to have you here. We did not get the schedule up there. Usually, we have a scheduled post, but I thought, you know what, this time, let's just go live and see how many people are actually waiting and watching for this. So today we just went live, and hopefully we've given a little bit of time for people to connect in. It's good to have you guys here. Today we're going to answer all of your questions about Canadian immigration, like always, and talk about whatever you want to talk about. So it's completely open season. As most people know, this Q&A is something we've been doing for years. As a Canadian immigration lawyer, I've been at this business, closing in on 20 years. In fact, I started working on the border, the Canada Immigration Border, as an immigration officer, the Canadian border as an immigration officer, way back in 2002. So it's hard to believe I've crossed over 20 years with immigration. And fun. All right. So what I do, I take that information, that experience working for the government, the years and years of practicing immigration, seeing all the evolutions. And recently I dropped off the table as the national immigration executive for the Canadian Bar Association. So I've had a lot of different hats that I've held over the years. And this live stream is all designed to help you guys. So let's jump right in. And I don't really have too much to say. I'm going to take as much time as I can to just dive in, and we'll do a few shout outs. If Tech, it's good to see you. And then we'll dive right into questions. So if you guys want to start posting your questions, go ahead and do that right now. We'll see how we're doing for some of the other locations for Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. If you guys are there, I'd love to hear from you as well. Any questions you have about immigration, please send them my way. As we're waiting for the questions to come in, I want to slide over here to our firm website and remind everybody that here, let's shrink the page down a little bit so you can kind of see. Right at the top, we have resources, and under resources, we have blogs. And one of the blogs that probably is going to be the most, informative for you guys is my top 6 list of key takeaways from the minister's report. So this really harkens back to what the minister describes as being his plan for transitioning all the temporary residents to permanent residents. And I have my top 6 list of things that you must take away from here. So I recommend that you check it out. I also want to show you over here on the Canadian Immigration Institute, if you are traveling and someone who doesn't have the ability to watch these videos, if you go here to podcasts, you can see that I actually did a corresponding podcast on this topic. And so I recommend that you slide over there, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and you'll get every bit as much detail out of that as you can out of our blog, the blog post that I wrote. So go check that out. All right. Okay, just a little tidbit. Let's see who else is tuning in here. So we've got, I think we already gave Nassim a little shout out, but good to see you, Nassim. And we've got Samir's over in London. Good evening to you. And Iptek says, evening from Bangladesh. Forgot my manners. Well, thank you for saying hello. That's awesome. Okay. And yes, Naji over on Facebook. Excellent. We got Facebook connected in, which that always makes me happy. All right. Let's go and let's start diving right into the questions. And as we talk, I know people will be asking, what is express entry? What does it look like? We'll see what happens today with the draw. I have two clients in particular that right are on the cusp amongst others, but one is at 501 and one's at 502. And so the question is, will the rounds of invitations get down that low? Will they? That's the question. I'm very curious to see what you guys think. So just post in the comments, wherever you're tuning in from, post in the comments what you think the round of invitation level will be for today if they do a round of invitations. So you can see the last one that we had was 510. So do you think it will get down to 502 or 501, or will it take more draws? So I want you to post in the comments what you think the draw will be. You guys are always asking me. Well, I'm curious for what you think. So go ahead and post in the comments, and we'll answer a few more questions and do some more shout outs. And then let's see what you, the viewers, have to say about the upcoming express entry draw today. Probably, again, no program specified. Will it get down to 500? Will it only be 505? You guys let me know what you think, and then I'll chime in what I think a little bit later. Okay. Okay. So let's see what we've got next here. So all right. So Allison says, how long police certificate is good for? Well, Allison, it's pretty simple. If you are in the country currently where you obtained your police certificate, it's valid for 6 months. If you've left that country and then obtained the police clearance from a different one, so you're not physically present there, then it really doesn't expire. And that's really the simple of police clearance certificates. All right. And Allison's got a follow-up. How long are CELPIP good for? 2 years. Okay, Nassim's got a question. He says, I have a question regarding Canadian experience. If someone has worked part-time for 2 years and simultaneously worked full-time job, NOC B category, would that be considered 2 years or just one? Just one, because when you're claiming work experience, you can't claim more than 30 hours a week, regardless of working in multiple positions. So you can't work 2 full-time jobs and get 2 years of credit in 1 year time. All right, next here. Samir says, hey, Mark, I undertook my medical for spousal PR in July. How long do you think until I hear about next steps, and what are the next steps? Thank you. So if you undertook it for spousal PR, I'm assuming, Samir, that your spousal sponsorship application has already been filed. And in that case, it really, I don't fuss too much about the steps. And I say this a lot. Lots of people are so fixated about, oh, I'm at this stage of the process, then this stage. But the reality is I look at total processing times. And I know that an officer can zip through a whole bunch of steps in that process in 1 day, or maybe it takes another officer weeks to get through each step. And so it just, because of that, I never put too much stock in how long it's going to take between steps. So in your case, spousal sponsorship, Samir, I don't know if that's an outside through the family class, or if it's, even inside, but whether it's family class or whether it's spouse common law partner, but you can just go on to the government website, take a look at the overall processing times, and then use that to kind of gauge. I know that IRCC is working on getting better metrics for you, to track exactly where your application is at. But at this stage, that hasn't yet been rolled out. Okay. At least not that I've seen officially. Okay. Rena, good to see you over on Facebook. Says, hey, Mark, even though we have received PR in May, but still watch your Q&A as they're full of information. Thanks for all of this. Okay, I've got it right here. There it is. Oh, it's a little quiet. There's a little bit of late sound effect there. Thank you, Rena. It's so good. I love it when people come back and connect in. And, I was looking the other day, and I don't know if I can even pull this up. I was looking the other day at our firm website, and well, I'll just show it. Doesn't matter. You can see my version of it here. But on the right side, we have our Google reviews, right? And so this is something that I take very, very seriously, these Google reviews. So we're up to, we're closing in on 100. We've got about 86 right now. And I always look, the only ones, I care about all of them, but these are the ones that I care most about, the lowest reviews. And every once in a while, we have a message from someone who, for whatever reason, wasn't happy with whatever they did. So out of all of these, we had 2 people that weren't. And we always go out of our way to try to address anyone who's had anything less than a negative experience. And really, as far as I'm concerned, anything less than a 5-star rating is really disappointing for me. And so you can see here we've got 2 that are 4, 3 that are 4, and then everything else, all the others are 5-star reviews. And that's for our law firm website. And so I take great I take great pride in the fact that when clients retain us to help them, that it's not just here giving free information and guidance on immigration, but it's also when people choose to retain our firm, when they choose to book consults, that they are given, that they have an experience that really means something to them, that that they know that we cared about them and that we were doing everything that we could to try to help them. So that's really my most important factor. And I want to share one other thing with you guys as well. For the month of September, we've talked about this a little bit before, but we've actually reduced our rates. So, and generally speaking, we're right around $200 for a consultation. And so I recommend that you guys take advantage of that. And I've also reduced my rate. And it's all just a way to try to help you guys, to give you opportunities to get help in the midst of a horrible economic situation. And as I was saying to many of my clients, when I talked to them, I went with my son just a week ago to get groceries and to try to feed your family healthy, fruits and vegetables and meat and healthy stuff, not, like Ichiban or ramen noodles or something. It was over $200 for 3 paper shopping bags from Safeway here. And it was absolutely crazy. And so I know a lot of people are suffering that same way. And so that's why we've changed our consults. Now, I am completely, I don't even know if I have any consultations available this week. Everything was so busy. So it looks like, so 28th, so 29th tomorrow. Okay, I do have some room still tomorrow for consults, which is actually quite surprising, but given the fact that we've got everything else going here. But this, as you can see here, when it comes to consults, there's lots of options. And with those reduced rates for just September, now if you're thinking about booking a consult, now would be the time to do it with all the lawyers, because our rates will go back up in October. All right. So thank you, Reina. Great to see you. Okay. And Kashan, good to see you over in Toronto. And all right. So this person is on the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. Good to see you. Hey, Mark, our CRS points are 500. When should we expect our draw? Our 12th of October or 26th of October? Please share your opinion. I personally don't think it's going to be today. So could it be October the 12th? Maybe. It depends on how many new people are getting into the pool. That's really the issue. So it's entirely possible that it could drop below 500 at some time in October. That's possible. The minister could surprise everybody and decide to do a targeted draw. We just never know. So we'll see. All right. Alfred says he's a registered nurse based in Ontario. And if you haven't yet, post what you think the CRS score is going to be in today's draw. Alfred says, I'm a registered nurse based in Ontario. Best province to get a PR. Any advice? Well, I can tell you, this is something that I specifically address in my blog post that I did. So if you go back to our law firm website here, and although it's in the context of express entry and in the context of a study permit, if you go here, you'll see that number 6 on my list, and I can just jump right down to it, talks about being strategic when you're a student. Well, this plays right into the whole pattern of people being strategic and choosing. You can see for students, as you see in my blog post here, I talk about the fact that over 49% of international students right here head to Ontario. So if over 49% of them are headed to Ontario and ultimately hope to become a permanent resident, well, it's going to be pretty darn competitive. And so my advice for people is to choose provinces where people are not going, where there's less competition, which obviously the competitive provinces are Ontario, BC, and Quebec. So if I was to look and answer your question about, which place to go, obviously I would ring the bell here and say, book a consult and we can go through it, Alfred. But as far as registered nurses, the reality is that there's going to be demands across healthcare, across a number of industries. And going back to my blog post here, if I scroll up here to number one of the things that I identify are the industries that the minister specifically highlighted in his report. So if the minister is specifically highlighting this, I pay attention. Number one on the list is health. So, that's an important factor. So in most provinces, I think there's going to be options for nurses, but I tend to choose provinces where I have multiple options. So for example, the Atlantic provinces, what do they have? They have the Atlantic Immigration Program. They have the various provincial nominee programs, and they have express entry, and they could have the Rural Northern Immigration Pilot, right? So there's a number of options. And so I like the Atlantic provinces. However, if you've gone to school in Alberta, then obviously if you choose to go there, then you're going to have a lot of options if you make sure your job is related to your program of study. So a lot of factors at play. I can't just say without, just saying one province is the best, but that's the process that I go through, Albert. Okay. Sujata says, hey, Mark, I want to know about recognized organization for India under IEC category. I don't believe Canada has a reciprocal agreement with India when it comes to IEC. Let's just pull it up and just take a quick look here. See what we can find. Let's see if we can pull it up quick. Bear with me. There's lots of different websites and information on this program, but traditionally what I do, Sujata, is I always go here to find out if I'm eligible. Then I do the drop-down menu. So if you see here, India is not on the list. So International Experience Canada, India doesn't have reciprocal agreements with Canada for that program, but those other provinces do. So those other countries do. Okay, Rupinder says, can you predict when will express entry scores be 483? So this is another thing I want to identify, is that the minister will be doing targeted draws in the new year, maybe sooner, who knows? And if he does that, overall CRS score may not be as important. In other words, if your core human capital score is 483, and then the minister does a strategic draw that hits right on your occupation, the experience that you have, then who knows? What could the minister do? Well, he could say everybody who has this work experience for these NOC codes has an extra 200 points granted to them, right? So we'll just have to see how that plays out. It's actually really exciting to see what happens come the new year. Okay, Gutierrez, good to see you over in Calgary. Awesome. Afroza says, morning, Mark. May I know the processing time for restoration? Well, the last restoration, I just finished helping a client fix an application that was refused for her daughter. And boy, that was a super stressful one because we had to send them down to the border to fix it. Her daughter's restoration application sat in the queue for almost 2 years. It was absolutely horrible. And I'm really frustrated with IRCC at how they managed that. The restoration was refused because she had applied outside of the 90-day window to restore, and she wasn't able to benefit from the 2020 policy that allowed people to restore even when they were beyond 90 days. So in your situation right now, I think generally speaking, restoration will absolutely take longer than a traditional application. It just will. But we've seen them all over the map. And so it could be, if you look at the regular processing times, I usually add on at least a couple months. All right, let's see who's next. Samrat, hello. Hey. He says, hello, Mark. Hope things are transitioning well for you with the change in temperature. Yes, it is a little bit cooler, my friend. So another frequent viewer and past listener and client. And, I think, Samrat, I think you took the course as well, I think. But that's awesome. Thank you for connecting in. Okay, Mahuri says, is a cost of living a good enough reason to leave the province that sponsors you? Sure, if you are not able to make ends meet. But I always advise people, Murray, that you give it a shot, right? Give it a shot, the best that you can. Because I'll be honest, the cost of living is awful all across the country. And, the decisions that our government made contributed significantly to this. So, the decisions that Justin Trudeau and our Liberal government did contribute to the situation the country's in right now. Whether another party would have made different choices and it would have resulted in some other different result, well, who knows? But the decisions through, how the pandemic was handled have directly resulted in housing prices skyrocketing and the overall cost of living to feed your family being higher. And so, whether if the Conservatives were in or whoever, whether it would have made a difference and they would have made different choices, who knows? There were so many factors at play, but understand that, provinces all across the country are suffering. Danny, good to see you connecting in from Kuwait. That's great. Okay. Jojo says, I recently got an email to confirm my address and passport details for the 18-month extension. There was a link in the email that carried me to the portal, but when I signed in, I don't see where to do so. Can you advise? This here, my friend, is a consult. So Jojo, slide over to our website, absolutely, and click on it when you get to our site here. Well, there should be a link in the description below that'll take you right here to book an immigration consultation. So slide over there and book a consult, and we can go through and we can actually do a screen share, and I can take a look and see exactly what the issue is. Okay, let's see. We've got some prognostication here. Let's see. So Rupinder says it'll be between 504 excuse me, and 505. Oh, my day started early, you guys, this morning. I was so busy with consults that I had a client, there was some glitch in our system that booked a duplication of consults. So I wanted to always help people as soon as I can. So I actually did my first consult this morning at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. So how many representatives out there do that for their clients? So yeah, my day started earlier here. So apologize if I'm misreading your question. So 504 to 505 says Rupinder. Let's scroll down and let's just see. Excuse me. Let's see what else people are voting. Let's see. Okay. Taryn says 505. Seems quite popular. Let's see. Are you guys the only ones voting? Oh, Aisha is crossing her fingers for 501. All right. That's ambitious. I like that. Let's see what else we have. Do we have any other one else voting? We only had 3 votes. Seriously. 3 votes on what the CRS score should be? Well, all right. Okay. So what do I say it is? Well, I think generally speaking, it's going to be probably in the mid 500, like 505. I agree 504. I think that's probably where things are going to settle. At least that's my thoughts. Okay. Francine says, hey, Mark, for express entry, if your family is unaccompanying, do you have to include them in the count for family members for the purpose of settlement funds? Yes, you do, Francine. You do. Okay. Hamid says, hello, Mark. Could you please speak about startup visa program as well? Well, there's not much to say really, Hamid. I know lots of people are, with the processing times, with how everything is stalled out. Anytime you have a program where people can invest, there's going to be an opportunity for corruption, for fraud, for things that are not genuine getting lumped into it. And because of that, that's what the government's now facing, because they're closing off a lot of the other avenues. Now the startup visa program is going under some significant reviews. And so I don't know how competitive the startup visa program is going to be. I just don't. Right now, it's not looking good. I can tell you that much. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have too much to add. It's a video in and of itself, right? To go through the startup process and to talk about all the ins and outs and what you do. There's just a lot of corruption in it. I'll be honest. There's a lot of corruption. And when, it's just really frustrating because there's agents out there that are always looking to exploit and misrep, and they don't care. And all they're doing is trying to get results, and then they destroy good programs. Just like the owner operator LMIA program, which was great. Well, it was abused, and so it disappeared. So thank you, you useless representatives out there, whether you're regulated or not, who have ruined the program for me. Okay. So if a person becomes PR last year and he was working in Canada as a temporary worker past 4 years, is he eligible to sponsor for grandparent? You need to have 3 years of notices of assessment. That's what you need. And so, yeah. And if you want, once again, book a consult and we can actually do an assessment. Okay. Tahir, good to see you. Thanks for connecting in. Okay. Aisha says, hey, Mark, what's the difference for applying a visit visa through the GC Key or RCC portal, and which is better? I don't think it really makes too much of a difference. I'll be honest. ultimately visitor visas, depending on which country, maybe India, they're all ugly. I've had people apply for visas that were stalled out for months and months and months, and then decided to just reapply and got a decision faster. And so lots of people are looking at that. And once again, you can say, as I've read, people are applying through either one of them, but confused. Yes. So they're both options are there, and it was designed to take pressure off of the global case management system, GCMS, which is GC Key. So they created the separate portal to take pressure off of it so people would apply through there so it wouldn't be so inundated. Because the whole government, GC Key system, which is GCMS, was so full, so full. And that's why it kept crashing. It was like having a hard drive on your computer that was 99% full. And that's what was happening. Okay, let's see. Okay, Biniam says, hey, Mark, please answer me this question. What is the visa success rate for fully funded high school scholarship? That I cannot tell you, my friend. I don't have that kind of data. I do not. Okay, Samrat says, I agree with Rena. I got my PR almost 2 years ago, but still follow you diligent most of the time. Thanks, Samrat. Yes, I'm going to give both of you one of these. Thank you so much, you guys. Okay, Shane says, I endorsed by the New Brunswick for PR under the Atlantic Immigration Program. RCC want proof of qualification for temporary work permit. Plumber is a regulated job there. If I don't have a trade certificate, what can I present or how do I explain? Well, you may not be eligible. So this is where the fine print is really important. You need to understand the eligibility criteria for those programs. Shane, I don't know if you hired a consultant to help you or if you did it yourself or how it worked out. But all of that should have been addressed long before an application was submitted to the Atlantic Immigration Program. And yes, the provinces have different rules because they want to make sure if they're nominating you or supporting you, well, through the Atlantic Immigration Program, they want to make sure that you are actually qualified to work in that occupation. So you've mentioned plumber is a regulated job there. So if we go here, and I'm going to pull this up just because it's an interesting little opportunity to do some teaching, and I like teaching. So let's slide over here. So if we go to the NOC, and we're still using the 2016 for now, if we go here and we search a title, and we'll just search up plumber, which is not going to be hard to find. So when it comes to working in Canada and being here, you actually do need to meet the minimum requirements for the position. So 7251 right here. And if we scroll down, you can see normally under express entry, you just need to show that you've performed all the activities in the lead statement and a substantial number of these main duties, right? But for work permits in Canada and qualifying in Canada, most provinces do require that you meet the employment requirements. And for every trade, you can see trade certification is compulsory where? Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick. So that basically means that you can't be working as a plumber in, well, if you look at where you're at right now, in New Brunswick, you can't work as a plumber without being having trade certification completed. So it's entirely possible, Shane, that maybe that process may not work out for you. But I wish that you would have retained our firm to help you, because I would have helped to advise. And yeah, this is definitely a concern. I'm not sure what your situation is, but I recommend that you book a consult and we can try to sort through it. Okay, Danny says, and I'm going to go about 10 more minutes, guys. I'm going to end a little bit early today. We're just going to go about 45 minutes, and that's why I dove right into the questions right away. So we'll go another about 10 minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up. Okay, so Danny says, if my education, field of study, and work experience are totally different, and I have more than 10 years work experience in the same field of NOC, will RCC reject my application? So let's go right back here, okay? So let's say this is the position. So the key here is that you have performed the activities in the lead statement, and that you have performed a substantial number of these main duties. When it comes to qualifying foreign work experience, okay, for the purposes of express entry, these employment requirements as far as education, etc., are completely irrelevant. They do not play a role in the assessment of foreign work experience. So in your situation there, if it's foreign work experience you're talking about, it doesn't matter if the field of study doesn't align as long as you actually perform those duties. Okay, that's one of the biggest misconceptions. Paul, you're very welcome. He says, hi, sir. Thanks for all the information. Make sure, yep, good. Okay, make sure the mic is loud enough for everybody. Okay, Saneeth says, hey, Mark, I'm very grateful for doing these sessions. I lodged my study permit application on April the 14th, but no reply. I'm thinking of getting a new LOA from uni and lodge a new file. Yeah, it's a disaster. Did you file it yourself, Saneeth? If you didn't file it yourself, I sure hope that your agent or your consultant, whoever's helping you, is giving you advice and direction. But any questions, book a consult. The specific stuff, guys, you really, really need to book a consult so that we can dive in deep and give you proper legal advice. Okay, let's see here. Mahmoud says, I've worked for a company over on Facebook, tuning in on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. I worked for a company and later on started working for the same company as an external contractor. Do I have to include the time I worked as an external contractor in the reference letter? So I will often reference it. So even though the employer had you as an employee for a certain period of time, that's what's going to be counted towards your express entry. Once you become self-employed, then it doesn't work for the purposes of express entry, especially if you're in Canada. I don't know if you're in Canada or outside Canada, but if you're outside Canada, let's see, you don't distinguish it. You can actually claim external, contractor work experience. And if you're still working for the same company, they're just paying you as a contractor and your duties are the same, then I will often include both roles. I'll have it separated out, work as an employee and then work as a contractor. And if you're outside of Canada, you can still have that opportunity potentially to claim that as work experience points. If it's inside Canada, you can't. So I would still include them both in the letter. But then in your work history, I only list the time that you actually are eligible to get points. And then in the personal history section, I explain everything as well as a letter of explanation. So that's how I deal with that. All of that's contained in my course. And I think a lot of you are aware of the Canadian Immigration Institute, which is the sponsor of this live Q&A and as well as the podcast. But when you go here, you can see that our courses, so October, we've got the spousal sponsorship postgrad is scheduled here. And then we're looking at November for express entry when we do the next masterclass. But based on kind of the popularity of the express entry program, I think I may actually bump this up and do another one in October. So I'll keep you guys posted with this one, but you can actually get in here. You can learn more about the program. And even right now you can purchase it, but what I might do is set it up such that we do the master class sooner. So so I'll let you know about that, but you can actually get access to all of the course material right now. And it's set up for for you to become as knowledgeable as anyone out there and to get your application approved the first time. Okay. IFTEC says, what are the chances for 471? CRS will be going down 466 after January 2023. IFTEC, it's really going to come down to, at least in my opinion, it's going to come down to the targeted draws for you. That's what it's going to come down to. Okay, Paul says, and we've got about 5 minutes left, guys. I'd like to know the knock of being a manager at McDonald's. Is it worthy way for qualifying to CEC? Well, of course, if you're a manager at McDonald's, yes, that will absolutely be eligible work experience for the purposes of CEC. Okay, Masabine Jaber says, hey, Mark, I studied and worked in Malaysia for 5 years. I have a PCC which covers that duration. However, recently I visited for 2 weeks with a visit visa. Do I need a new PCC again? I do. I get it. I always get a new one whenever I go back, especially if it's been, if the PCC is older. So I always go back and get it. Well, I order a new one. I don't go back and, unless you absolutely have to, I guess, to get it as part of the process. But even if it's that old, I like to get a fresh one. Okay, Suraj says, I worked 5 months in first company, quit, worked in a different company for 10 months. Can I show altogether as 1 year experience? My main concern is I couldn't get reference letter from the first. Well, this one here right now, I'm going to ring a bell as well, Suraj, because I don't know if this is Canadian experience class. I don't know if this is foreign work experience. The rules are different. If you're talking about 1 year continuous, it needs to be in the same knock and it needs to be continuous with no breaks. So, and your job is to prove it. So if you can't get a reference letter, well, embedded within this course is very detailed instructions on what you can do to try to support your work experience or prove it if you are unable to get a perfect letter. So, yes. Okay, Najee says, let's see, we'll get out of here because we got a little Skyper. Now that's awesome. Let's zip through here. We'll try to stick it to English here. Okay, DS says, hey, Mark, can Can one only attain a summer internship in Canada if your program requires you to do so? Or can one be allowed to take an internship in Canada during the summer without this need? Thank you. Martinez DS, I'm going to need a little bit more information on what you mean by a summer internship. So are you currently studying and then you want to do an internship in the, during the break? If that's the case, you can do whatever you want. You can work, you can do whatever you want in the summer. Well, I shouldn't say whatever you want, but yeah, but internships are not typically an issue if you have a study permit, but I'm not quite sure the full context. So I recommend that you consider booking a consultation. Okay, a couple more here. Okay, so Sajad says, hey, Mark, the postgrad work from extension page now says you should update your personal info for round 2 till October 10th, but does not say how. What should I do? Sajad, this is something that we're trying to sort out. There's not a lot of information, right? So I recommend you book a consult and we can take a look at where you're at and then drill down and really try to figure out if there's a different process that you in particular can follow. Okay, let's see what's next. Peters, good to see you. Thanks for connecting in. Okay, let's try and tackle this big old question. So knock 0124, and I get a lot of this, so I'm going to pull up 0124 here. Knock code 0124, and we'll probably end off with this one here. So sometimes, like this person says, how do you match a job duty when the knock mentioned on the website as there's just one duty mentioned for the advertising manager? So if we look here, let's flip over here. So this one here is advertising, marketing, and public relations managers. And then what he's talking about is if you go down here, you can see that the positions are actually broken down. Advertising manager, marketing manager. So you can see here, this is the key part. So then you're matching this duty. If you do not plan, direct, and evaluate the activities of the firm or department, then you're not going to be considered a marketing manager. And so, and then implementing advertising campaigns, promoting sales. So technically these are 3 different kind of titles. So plan, direct, and evaluate the activities, develop and implement advertising campaigns, and promote the sale of products and services. Well, that's really 3 duties, even though they're just listed in 1 bullet point. So yep, straight across, that's how you do it. And guess where I have my knock selection tool template? It's in my course. Yes, right here. Okay, and the link in the description. Okay, Bill Gate, have a nice day to you too. Thank you so much. All right, and I think we'll end off on that note. Remember, tomorrow I'm going to be going live with Alicia at 11. So yeah, so take a look at the YouTube channel, and we'll try to get that one scheduled up for you guys. But yeah, today, this was a great live Q&A. I had to end just a little bit early because I have an important client matter that I need to wrap up with a client. And so hopefully it was helpful. And we'll see here in a couple hours who was correct with the express entry round of invitation guesses. So we had people, some were saying, that it could go down all the way down to 501. I've got a client at 501, a client at 501, 502. We'll see. And then I have other individuals out there who were saying it's probably going to be between 504, 505, or even 506, which I'm kind of in that range myself. So I think I'll settle with 505 and we'll see if that happens. All right, guys, thanks so much. And remember, we're always here to help. Anything that you need in terms of immigration, our law firm is specifically designed and filled with 4 phenomenal immigration lawyers. Well, 3, I'm not going to call myself that, but the other lawyers in the firm. So come to our website, Holthe Immigration Law, and if you need help, book an immigration consultation. And like I said, for the month of September, we have lower rates until the month is up, and it's just about up, you guys. So go in, schedule. Now's your chance to book a consult. And then once the September is over, right here, you can see, then our rates will go back up. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in the next live Q&A, which will happen tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain Time with myself and Alicia.